Swim beneath our lakes, hide beneath our oceans. They have no place in today's world, but a few survive.
I wouldn't believe in them myself if I hadn't seen them.
They're the living link with an era beyond our imagination.
When I stood up and I saw this shadow, it scared me. It really scared me.
They are monsters of the deep.
Beyond what is known lies an unexplored world of shadows and phantoms. A land that knows no limits of time or space. From the dawn of discovery to the nightfall of catastrophe. Journey to a universe of the unexplained, the unforeseen, the unbelievable. A place beyond reality, where no question will go unanswered. A place where myth and legend are law, superstition a science.
It's time for our journey to begin. This should not exist, but it does. This is Loch Ness, one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Nestled in the Scottish Highlands, it has been inhabited for thousands of years. But something else lives beneath the surface of this beauty. Something huge and terrifying. What lies under this lake haunts Scottish legend. 565 years after the birth of Christ, St. Columba drove off a fearsome beastie through the power of prayer. But the beastie did not stay away long. The medieval legends of the dragon were thought to have had their genesis in reports of this creature, a creature that is a part of everyday life for many locals, who have named it Nessie.
Yes, I have seen something, yes. About 6 miles down the loch this way. And it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Very normal day, and just driving into the local town in Inverness. And I stopped the car because I saw something strange in the loch.
Suddenly I looked, and my late mother was in the car with her pal, and we looked, and there came out of the loch was this huge shape, massive shape, brown grey in colour, huge.
It was a flat, calm evening, and just out in the bay here, you could see this churning motion in the water, and being so quiet in the evening, you could actually hear a slapping noise, like a flipper noise, like a beat.
Now, somebody like myself, who's lived here for 20-odd years, we can tell the difference between boats and waves in the loch and movement in the loch, and this was definitely some form of animal.
Whatever it was powered below the water. You don't have to be a scientist to work that one out.
And it then zopped back into the loch, and then the loch was flat calm. And what I saw then was waves about 18 inches high going to each side of the loch. And then it just disappeared.
It just gradually slowed down and then just submerged and left a ring. You know, as you throw a stone into the water, you have the circle. You know, and it just stopped.
Did I see the monster? I don't know. But I do believe that, you know, I obviously saw some things, and nobody's been able to tell me what I saw. So I think I must have seen the monster.
Altogether, I've had 16 sightings over the years. But the first sighting I had was in 1917,
And I was very young at the time. I was only about 10. And I was looking out across the loch, and it was quite rough, and there was a strong wind. And suddenly, in the middle of the loch, looking across, I saw this colossal thing like a great whale, great black hump, coming up. And it was only up for a couple of seconds, really, but it was going very fast against the wind.
If this is only a myth, it is certainly a popular one. In order to find out what is at the bottom of this phenomenon, we need to look at the bottom of the lake that contains it. Loch Ness is filled with ice-cold water, opaque only 50 feet below the surface. Over 700 feet deep, it is honeycombed with crevices and caves. It is not hard to imagine a creature of huge proportions remaining hidden in these depths, rising only occasionally and mysteriously. One of the unusual things about the Loch Ness Monster is that hundreds of eyewitnesses disagree as to its appearance and habits. To some, it appears like a giant eel. Others only see strange humps, others a long neck, and few have seen it for very long. This wide range of perception has led to the Loch Ness Monster becoming an international joke. The joke may be on the skeptics. Tim Dinsdale is a full-time aeronautical engineer and part-time Nessie expert. And on the 6th and last day of his search for the creature, he was finally in the right place at the right time.
Well, 23rd of April 1960. I'd been up very early down the western end of Loch Ness watching, and I saw this object about 2/3 of the way across Loch Ness. It wasn't close to me, but it was a big object. It looked like the back of a huge animal. You think of an African buffalo with a sort of humped back. And I thought, what is it? And while I was watching it, started to move, and it moved off ponderously. And I realized at once two things. It was A, it was alive, and B, it had great mass. And it zigzagged away, started to submerge, and I started to shoot movie film. I was absolutely cool as a cucumber, and I simply filmed as best I could. I could see very clearly, crystal visibility. I was not a professional cameraman, but I knew enough to press the button and roughly get things right. Whatever it is alive, it's very powerful and very large. I can't tell you what it is. We don't know what it is.
This film was a breakthrough in the serious study of the monster, but it was only the beginning. Our modern science has dived deeper into the issue and perhaps come face to face with the Loch Ness Monster. It seems impossible that a beast as huge as Nessie could escape scrutiny, but Loch Ness is enormous. Finding Nessie would be like finding the proverbial needle in a haystack, if that needle could swim and hide. Science collided with legend for the first time in 1972, when a sophisticated expedition led by an American arrived in Scotland.
If they're still there, they're big. And I think that's a challenge to us to try to use technology to the best we can in order to be able to identify what indeed is in Loch Ness.
Robert Rines is a dedicated amateur, a lawyer turned engineer turned explorer. Through sonar and high-speed photography, he has come the closest to proving Nessie's existence.
Well, in 1972, we were very fortunate to have the first corroboration of elapsed time camera photographs taken underwater of some kinds of obstacles and a sonar detection of the passing of objects at the same time. And those pictures seem to show some kind of an appendage or a diamond shape of a flipper or fin or something of this sort in at least two of the sequence.
Robert Rines and the Academy of Applied Science have produced what many people will regard as proof that there is indeed a monster or monsters in Loch Ness. In fact, it's obvious that these photographs are mistakes. They were genuinely taken, but due to faulty methodology by the team, they have exposed cameras showing parts of Loch Ness bottom. Subsequently, some of these pictures have been processed by computers and in other ways unknown to us that have shown things like flippers, which aren't really there in the original photographs, and bottom debris that can be shown or misinterpreted in various ways.
As a lawyer, having started as a scientist, I'm very familiar with integrity and in cross-examination in the courtroom. And as one British judge put it to me, on the basis of the evidence that exists, if Nessie had been a lawsuit or a murder trial, there'd have been a hanging long since.
Let us assume that there is something down there. Would it not be logical then to believe that there are other similar animals elsewhere in the world? For example, in Canada, there have been reports of another strange animal with an equally strange name. Ogopogo.
There have been hundreds of individuals who have had sightings of Ogopogo in Lake Okanagan over the past 114 years. Most of these individuals have been credible witnesses.
Lake Okanagan in British Columbia resembles its Scottish counterpart. Like Loch Ness, it is deep, murky, and very cold. But unlike the loch, the area around it is heavily populated.
We were looking down over the lake. I had seen a movement in the water. It appeared to be a large, blackish brown head that was moving very quickly through the water.
So I noticed that there's three big humps come out of the water. And then there was a monstrous shadow. I mean, the top part was kind of silver gray, and then the underpart was kind of a blackish color.
Looked like, as close as I can come to being the same flesh as a whale.
And when I stood up and I saw this shadow, and I just sat right back down, I thought, oh my God, it is Ogopogo. And it scared me. It really scared me.
Recently, a television crew stumbled across something strange in the lake and took this footage.
Isolated movement. There's nothing around it, nothing in front of it, nothing behind it.
What was it? A boat wake? A swimming dog? Or something else? Something called Ogopogo. According to reports, there have been other sightings in North America. This time in the city of Baltimore in the United States.
Look how warm it is! Look how warm it is! Oh my God! Why get the camera on? That damn thing must be.
That's amazing! Well, it was Memorial Day weekend, and we saw something swimming in the bay from south to the north against the tide. We watched it for approximately a minute or so before we got the binoculars on it. We knew at that time that it was something extraordinary, and as we watched it, we got the videotape out, or the video camera, which has a zoom on it also, and we saw it appear, long object, approximately 35, 36 foot long. Looked like a large snake, and at that time we knew we had seen Chesapeake.
The human eye can be easily deceived, and all the films we've seen could be dismissed. But in 1977, something was caught in a fishing net that may be conclusive evidence that sea monsters do exist. Films of vague, swimming shapes are a long way from positive proof, but actually catching a monster of the deep is something else again. And that is precisely what happened one afternoon in 1977, about as far away from Loch Ness as it is possible to go, off the coast of New Zealand. The crewmen walked straight into a controversy, and they were quickly interrogated about their unusual catch. And their drawings suggested the dimensions of a mystery. Because of the rapid disintegration of the creature, they disposed of the carcass at sea, but they did take photographs. One of the crew members kept a portion of the creature's fin, and experts could not identify it. What was it? Composite drawings show an animal unlike any other known by science. This is not the first unusual sea monster to be reported. For centuries, sailors have recounted tales of huge beasts rising from the sea. Huge beasts that were neither fish nor whale. These strange creatures be? There's an infinite variety of life here on Earth, but nothing living could match these descriptions. Maybe something from our past, our ancient past. Astonishing. A living dinosaur. It was a time of thunder, in the sky and on the land. Huge seas covered the earth, teeming with life terrible to behold. As the centuries wore into millennia, the great seas retreated, exposing new lands, covered with new life. Then the dinosaurs vanished, leaving only bones behind. Perhaps. Nessie, Ogopogo, Jessie, the strange catch off New Zealand. Could these be surviving dinosaurs? Incredible. Could a prehistoric animal be the explanation for these monsters of the deep? Experts have varying opinions.
I don't know what it is. I would suspect it's an evolved form of plesiosaur. But then I'm an engineer. It doesn't matter what I think.
The Loch Ness Monster is a myth. It doesn't exist. There is no Loch Ness Monster or monsters. There never was.
It's bigger than the old plesiosaurs. The big ones are bigger than any that we know about, but then we don't know everything about the fossil record.
If we're right, what a wonder this is going to be. What a fantastic find it's going to be that in a freshwater lake there could be big animals living all these years and apparently procreating all these years. It's a wonder.
They are real. A number of us who've been fortunate enough to see them know that they are. They have to be protected, of course, and the only way you can do that is by protecting the environment. Mark you, the environment protects them as it is. It's a difficult place to work in. It's a big place, and you don't often see them. When you do see them, the majority of people don't believe you.
Is it possible for a creature to avoid extinction? Perhaps. According to fossil records, this fish, called a coelacanth, was alive 70 million years ago. Like the dinosaur, it was thought to be extinct until it was accidentally snagged in a fisherman's net off the coast of Africa. Now, a fish and a dinosaur are very different creatures, but or perhaps it's arrogant to assume that man has discovered everything left in his natural world.
I wouldn't believe in them myself if I hadn't seen them. I mean, it sounds so extraordinary. But then these people, these scientists, are all discussing whether there's a monster or whether there isn't. I can't be bothered with them because I know the things are there.
We're convinced there are large animals in Loch Ness, and we're going to put technology together in such a way that either we or those that we help can now get a definitive answer. What are they?
monster is not the right word to describe these fantastic survivors. They're far more inspiring. Extinct is a relative term, meaning in cases like these, not rediscovered. There is something in these waters, and until they decide to surface and end our speculation, we should give them our profound respect. These water beasts may well be the most ancient surviving inhabitants of our planet. They have defied time, swimming into eternity.
Secrets and Mysteries presents information based in part on theories and opinions, some of which are controversial. The producer's purpose is not to validate any side of an issue, but through the use of actualities and dramatic recreation, relate a possible answer, but not the only answer, to this material. Air transportation provided by British Caledonian Airways.